Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us for another brand new video today that we're releasing. Today's video is a special video linking with performance analyst Lewis Avery, who works with the FA, and I'll bring to you his role in a second. So this video is going to look at working with goalkeepers and how we analyse goalkeepers in possession. So Lewis is going to cover a whole range of topics as to how lead analysis work and look to analyse goalkeepers and improve their performance in this particular section. What we're looking to do in here is release 2 or 3 videos with Lewis with regards to the different parts of goalkeeping. So like I said, today's video is in possession. So I hope you find loads of different value in this. Lewis has put together a fantastic piece on this, which is about 12 minutes long. So I really hope you enjoy it. So I'll introduce Lewis next. So just to give a little bit of background on Lewis's job and what he does within the performance analysis sector, Lewis is a director of his own business of LA Analysis. He's also a performance analyst for England with the cerebral palsy team and England deaf team within the FA. He's also the performance analyst for the QPR women's team, and he is head of analysis at APD, which is based in London. And finally, just in terms of the coaching process and how I see it as a goalkeeper, just to broadly sweep over this, we're looking at 4 moments in the game. So we're looking at in possession today. You also have out of possession. You have the transition of when we lose the ball, and you have transition of when we win the ball back. And then across the components of goalkeeping and football, you're looking at technical, tactical, physical, psychological and social aspects in terms of the goalkeepers and understanding their role within the game and how they can orchestrate and help their team to win matches. So without further ado, I'll let Lewis do his job. It's a fantastic piece. I really hope you enjoy it. Just to reiterate, Lewis is a broad performance analyst working within football, and he can do goalkeeping as well because it's part of his job role. So I really hope you enjoy this insightful piece.
Hi everyone, hope you're well. My name's Lewis Avery. As Matt's probably just mentioned, I'm a performance analyst. I've known Matt for a number of years. We've worked together on a number of different projects, so really thankful for him to ask me to come on and join this really successful series that he's putting together on YouTube for you all. In today's video, we're going to look at the role of an analyst in the coaching process for goalkeepers. So looking at what sort of things we look for in training, what we look to use to prepare for the games, not only for our goalkeepers, but how we use opposition analysis to help our team create chances. Also looking at out of possession and in transition. So hopefully what you'll get from this video is a few ideas of how you can implement some analysis into your own coaching process, your own training methods, whether it's be analysing yourself, getting a coach or a family member to analyse you, or even a friend. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do have any questions, please drop them below, and I'm sure myself and Matt will do our best to answer them all. So yeah, thank you very much. So let's get into the video. Today's focus is on in possession, and firstly we're going to look at training sessions. Now, with every training session, there's a number of questions that I like to ask, and these are the sorts of things you could ask yourself, whether you're a player or a coach. Now, the first question I like to ask is, what are the overall objectives of the session for their team? Why is that session being put on, and does everybody involved in the session understand the overall objectives? Secondly, what are the individual targets? Okay, if you're an individual player, what are your targets for that session? Do you understand what the coach wants you to get out of that session? And if you're a coach, does every player know their role and know why they're taking part in the session? Thirdly, if you're fortunate enough to work with a goalkeeper coach within the session, you can think about what does your goalkeeper coach want you to get from that session, and how you can transfer skills and drills that you've done with them previously into that session, into a game-based scenario. Finally, and most importantly, is thinking about what you want from the session. Okay, so do you understand why you're involved in that session from a personal perspective? Okay, think about what you're going to gain from being involved in that session. Now, if we watch this video clip here, you can see a number of examples of movement off the ball. This was a possession-based practice where we had a small-sided game and moved it into an 11-a-side game with the men's deaf senior team at England at St George's Park. If we focus on the goalkeeper for the blue team, you can see there's a lot of movement off the ball, and even when he's not moving off the ball, he is communicating with his teammates, trying to dictate play. He is always offering and looking to receive, which is something that we look for from our goalkeepers. Now, as an analyst, using this as a feedback tool, we would use mainly video clips for a scenario like this. Okay, and we would show the progression from the small-sided game into the 11-a-sided game as shown in this video. You can see the goalkeeper is still looking to receive the ball, still comfortable and still moving in order to create the angle. Creating the angle is really important, and it's something that we look for in our goalkeepers. We look for where they're receiving the ball, have they made the right movements in order to receive in the best possible way. Because if you haven't made the right movements, then you may not have the picture to play the ball you want to. Another example here of the opposition goalkeeper, again, just moving within the width of the 6-yard box, but making those movements in order to receive the ball and be on offer, which is really important. Moving into the pre-match preparations, one of the first thing to consider is the lineup. Okay, so who is in your team and what formation are you playing? If you know the strengths of and weaknesses of your teammates, it will make life a lot easier for you and for your team. You can then tailor your things like your distribution to them in order to maximise the success rate. So if you think about it, if you have 2 wingers and neither of them are very good in the air, however they're very good at running onto the ball, you may think about tailoring your distribution towards that. If you have a central midfielder who likes to drop deep and receive the ball, you may also tailor your distribution towards that. The second thing we like to focus on is the style of play. The style of play is also really important because this will then also benefit us when we're thinking about our types of distribution. Our types of distribution can be influenced by our style of play in a number of ways. If we're a team that likes to play long, then it may be focusing on, right, okay, if we're playing long today, we're going to think about maybe some drop kicks or kicks from the floor. If we're a team that like to build up possession from deep, it's going to be thinking about, right, I'm probably going to receive the ball quite a number of times. I need to be good and moving before I receive, have the picture ready in my head to be able to play off of 1 and 2 touches and always look to be involved in the game. The final thing we may consider is the opposition style of play. If we're fortunate enough to have video footage, like we do in the England setup and like we do in non-league, we are able to analyse the opposition and understand their sort of pressing methods. Now, if we're playing against a high block, we need to think about how we're going to be able to play out. If we're playing against a low block, we may have more time on the ball, but we need to think about our detail on the delivery if we are trying to play long in a scenario like that. So there are just a number of things that you can consider. Now, you may not have access to video footage of the opposition, however, you may remember playing them before and remember, oh, they have a very fast striker, so you know that if he's going to press you, you need to be very good at your movement and either create the extra space with the yard of movement or be ready to play off of 1 and 2 touch to move the ball quicker. Moving on to the game scenario. Now, if you look on the right hand side of the screen here, you can see that there is a code window. So this is an actual code window that I've used before when we're analysing the distribution of the goalkeepers. Now, very simple, we just have the 4 categories. So we have throws, goal kicks, drop kicks and floor kicks. Then we just have 12 pitch zones to look at where our players are trying to hit the ball and whether it's successful or unsuccessful. Now, there's obviously a subjective matter on whether something is successful or unsuccessful, but I will leave that up to you to have that discussion with your coach, your teammates, to decide what you think is successful or unsuccessful. The video example here is of Luke Kearney, and you can see now on the right hand side of the screen that there's actually an example of a distribution map that I completed for him from a couple of games from last season when he was at Poole Town. Now, you can see that Luke's distribution was very good from the floor, and we decided that the ball in contest or to a teammate counted as a successful kick. Now, often if you're playing long balls, as you can see, Luke often did play some long balls, but his distribution was very good. It can be difficult to interpret this in a specific way. So it's important that you have that conversation with your teammates and your coach beforehand so you're both on the same page. If everybody understands and has the same knowledge, it makes life a hell of a lot easier and it makes things a lot smoother. The most important thing is that everybody understands what is going on and is on the same page. Because if I go to a coach with, say, oh, Luke has got 9 out of 10 successful kicks to the attacking right region, and they go, no, it was only 5, then there's a discrepancy there, and then as the player there is also some confusion. So my advice would be try and keep things simple, try and keep things effective, and focus on what you want to improve. Focus on what you want to measure and how you're going to measure it. A lot of things can be done very simply just by tallying in a notebook. If you have a friend, parent, guardian, coach, teammate on the bench who can watch and just analyse your games whilst you're playing, fantastic. You can use that to then help you benefit for the training sessions. If we move on now to just a quick example, so this is a post-match report that we use for our academy players at Advanced Player Development, and you can see that the actual distribution map is slightly different. In here we focus on more specifically on the throws and the kicks. We've not gone into too much detail on the kicks because we like to encourage our players, our goalkeepers, to always kick from the floor and rarely kick long balls. So we've decided to group that together to try and simplify things and make it easier to collect the data. You can see there was actually only one kick attempted into the red zone, which was beyond the defensive line, and it was unsuccessful. However, as we moved down into the attacking zone, the mid zone and the defensive zone, the success rate was much higher. This would be sent over to the goalkeeper, they would be able to review it. There would also be video clips attached. For the final part of today's video, we're going to look at what you can do at home to practice doing some performance analysis. Now, I've just got my phone here and we're going to go on the Premier League app, which I'm sure a lot of you will use either to keep up to date with your favourite team or to play fantasy football. What you may not know in the app is there's a lot of useful content regarding player statistics as well as team statistics. Now, if we go to stats, you can see that there's season stats, all-time stats, but there's also player comparisons, which is what we're going to look at today. So in here, we're going to choose two players that we want to compare when we're looking at different KPIs. Now, for argument's sake, today we're going to look at Ederson from Manchester City, and we're going to compare him to David De Gea from Manchester United. Now, we want to make sure that we click on the right season. Obviously, as the 2021 season hasn't started yet, so we're just going to scroll down and choose 2019-20 for both players. And then from there, you'll see there's an overview. You'll see that both players played a similar number of matches. David De Gea playing every single match for Manchester United in the league last season, whereas Ederson played 35, obviously injured for a couple of games. If we scroll down, we can look at team play, which is where we want to focus today's session, really. So if we're looking at passes, you can see that although Ederson played in less games, he completed more passes. He had a higher pass completion percentage. However, David De Gea completed more forward passes. Now, this doesn't mean that Ederson is never looking to play forward. It just means that the style of play of the teams may suit David De Gea trying to play forwards more often. If you think about Manchester City as a team, they're very possession-based. And if you watch the previous video where Matt looked through Ederson's warm-ups, you can see that his kicking was varied, where he did like to go wide. Now, we're not entirely sure whether they will use that as a forward or a wide pass. It comes down to the metrics that the people completing the stats will decide on. However, you've got to think about whenever Ederson has the ball, you'll often see that the Man City centre-halves will drop alongside him. You'll also see the fullbacks go really wide. So they're really trying to build up from the back, whereas Man United might be looking to go on the counter-attack quickly, trying to look their really fast wingers. If you look, Ederson also had more touches than David De Gea, which suggests that he was involved in the gameplay a lot more. So again, thinking about the style of play of the goalkeeper and thinking about how they fit the team philosophy. If we were to change the goalkeepers and say compare it to Ederson to Nick Pope of Burnley, for example, and scroll down, you'll see that Nick Pope completed nearly 3 times as many forward passes as Ederson did. Now, if you think about the style of play of the two teams, Burnley are more likely to play a bit of a more direct style, whereas Man City more likely to build up through the phases. Therefore, this would account for that difference. So don't just always assume that just because someone may have more touches or may have more forward passes that they're a better player or they're always looking for that killer pass. It may just be the style of play that the club wants them to play. I hope you found today's video useful. I'm sure Matt's going to share some examples with you now. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. And I'm sure myself and Matt will do our best to answer them all. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that piece of Lewis. I really hope it brought you some value. In terms of from coaching process and reiterating some of the stuff that Lewis has said, what you can do in games to really try and improve your own performance is if you have an ability to get your own games filmed, that's obviously a fantastic thing to do. Or you can have someone on the side, such as a parent or a friend, maybe make notes about the things you've done well and the things you need to improve, and maybe try and keep statistics of what you've performed in the match. And maybe different things that have happened, such as important things like distribution, where the distributions are going, saves, catches, etc. There's lots of different things you can look at. Then in terms of what you do with these things, it's important to break it down into those 4 moments. Like I said, today is the in possession part of goalkeeping. But in terms of what we're doing across the 4 moments, you're looking at in possession, out of possession, when we lose the ball in transition and when we win the ball back in transition. All key components that can be analysed for goalkeepers. And then from your own personal point of view, it's really important to be critical and self-aware of what you can do to improve. Obviously, in terms of younger goalkeepers, as coaches, we're always really looking for youth players to want to improve and have an ability to see that they're not the finished product yet, and no one ever is, and we're always looking to learn and improve your performance. And then finally, as a youth player and even adult players, looking to use your own knowledge and your own ability to improve what you can do. So find ways of what you can do in games and what you can add to your matches to make you a better player. And also add this into your training sessions. And if you have a coach you can work with, try and figure out ways you can develop your training sessions to work on those particular points that you want to improve on. And then ultimately, if you can be self-aware and think about what you can do to improve, by taking that ownership, you can improve yourself rather than just rely on a coach or someone else to do it for you. So it's a really big thing to do. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it brought you some value, something a little different that we released, and a massive thank you to Lewis for putting together that excellent piece of work. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Lewis, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any comments, as Lewis said, please leave them underneath. If you have any thoughts, again, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to see what you think, and I'm sure myself or Lewis will reply. Always try and read, always try and reply to every single comment that we get. So once again, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.